And we are live. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. Vlogcast that comes from a skeptical point of view to answer some of the questions of why. This vlogcast started as a combination of spite and the Streisand effect because I really love arguing with people. Sometimes it's even helpful. Of course, there's also the small problem of wanting to institute percussive maintenance over IP is a psychological experiment, but just can't do that apparently. There's something with ethics. I don't know. Part of this is to follow through with sometimes the journey is more important than the destination. I'm your main host. I'm known as Shujin, Tribble all over the place, so you can find me pretty much everywhere under that name.
What the hell is that?
That would be Tech grabbing a hold of stuff where a microphone is. Thanks, man.
Sorry about that. I forgot to mute the mic.
Obviously.
You think?
Not at all, sorry.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Holy Crap, the Vlogcast. The Vlogcast, fuck, this is the way it's going to be. Shujin. You can find me pretty much everywhere under that name. It's kind of hard to miss me.
Shut up.
By the way, I can't show it on camera just because of the way things are set up, but my kitten is furiously pawing at your face right now. Say hi, Mr. Vlad.
Oh, okay. I realized what I did and why you guys experienced what you did. Apparently, I somehow managed to disconnect my desktop microphone, and so the Hangouts decided it was going to use the webcam's built-in lesser quality pickup. So when I adjusted the webcam, you guys got a loud earful of "I hate you."
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I apologize.
Tech, let's make this the easy way. Can you fix it?
Yep.
Did you?
Give me a moment.
Are you gonna make it? You're gonna mute all the microphone and everything, right?
Yes, he just did.
Good. Thank you very much. From north of the border into Ontario, Canada. Oh my God, it's still cold up there. Good morning, Heretic Woman.
Good morning.
Down to the left of the Midwest of the U.S., where it ain't just the witches that are cold. Good evening, Brigid.
Good evening. I've managed to stop facepalming myself long enough to say good evening.
From south of me into Pittsburgh, where apparently God doesn't protect the people celebrating Shabbat either. Good morning, Joey.
I'm sorry, but as someone who was brought up Roman Catholic and has actually read the Bible cover to cover multiple times in his lifetime, I am still waiting to see any evidence of protection of any sort. But if anything, quite the opposite.
Yes. And for those of you that are wondering what I'm referencing to, don't worry, I'll explain in a couple of moments. From outside of the DC area where, oh God, it's hot because of the blowhards still over there. UnrenownedTech, good morning, and unmute yourself long enough to say hi.
You still
Can you hear me now?
Way too overblown, but yes, there you are.
Ah, good. Now you can see my ceiling.
Woo.
Brilliant. Good morning.
I'll get that fixed. Good morning.
See.
And oh God, man, I don't have any smartass reply to the whole Washington D.C. thing anymore, just because like
It's true.
There's no other smartass responses to make anymore.
Well, at this point, really, what's left to be said?
I'm sure I will work my ass off to come up with something, and I'm sure it won't be too terribly difficult.
I want to move to Canada. I just can't afford to. Hey, Dalan, line me up a job, dude. I know how to turn it off and on again.
Let me be honest. You're a two.
Yeah. And from over the water into Paris, France this morning. Good morning, Joseph. Good morning, Joseph. He's busy getting his coffee, I'm guessing, because his microphone is muted still. Yeah, we're gonna go with that. Anyway, so what I was making reference to, for those of you that are perhaps in the future, not knowing about this, unfortunately, earlier today, we had a shooting in a mosque in...
No, not a mosque.
No, I'm sorry. You're right. It was a
Jewish temple.
Jewish temple. God, why the hell...
Are you fucking...
Yeah, guy went
That
in...
would be called a synagogue.
Synagogue, sorry.
No, not always a synagogue. Not always a synagogue.
Well, in any case,
No.
what came down to it was guy went running in there, and the information that I got was shortly after things had stopped. So some of the information I got was, bleeding edge. Forgive me, because still stuff was coming out. Supposedly had a rifle of sorts, perhaps an AK-47 style. Again, like I said, from what was given at the time. At the time, there were supposedly 6 people. I believe that number went up to 8 who were killed. The gunner was taken into custody, ran into the temple, shot indiscriminately, and yelled, "All Jews should die," according to the report at the time. I have not gone to look up any further at this point because I really should. I know, but there's only just so much that any one of us can really be expected to handle, and this is one of those things that's a little above and beyond.
Just to fill in one gap anyway, the toll at the moment is 11 dead.
11. So, yeah. So we've got that over our heads amongst a whole bunch of other things, but that's neither here nor there. For those of you that are sure of us actually missing somebody, yes, Dalan is actually busy. He's entertaining folks, so he's not going to be able to be with us tonight, which is fine. We'll just just have fun at his expense as usual. He may pop over on Discord and tappity at some point, which I highly doubt, which would mean that he was taking time away from the people that he's with. You know better than that. Yeah, whatever. It'll be fine. It'll be fine. Anyway, if you are, however, watching live, of course, thank you very much. We hope that you enjoy yourself. Please, by all means, take advantage of the live chat, because that's what it's there for. Stephanie has been there, of course, early, and reminding me that, did you double check what the time is for when your show is going to be on? Because, daylight savings time and all that happy stuff over here in Great Britain, you might want to double check that. Oh, crap. Yeah, that happens, doesn't it? We were talking about that, as a matter of fact, just before we came to air, that how stupid that is. But not our, it's them that does that kind of thing. It's they're the ones that do it. So with any luck, hey, just stop it once and for all. That'd be really nice. We can dream.
I know where that synagogue is. I've been there.
Have you?
Yeah.
Yeah, from what I understood, it's only about 15 minutes away from downtown. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, so there's reasons why I know about where downtown Pittsburgh is for another piece for later. Anyway, so we'll press on and move on from that and deal with what we've got. So let me go ahead and get us rolling, because we're gonna have a little bit of fun to get through all this. So as usual, 5 minutes on the clock. Your 5-minute freestyle starts right now. This week I titled it Evolution. Now, evolution has typically been referred to as survival of the fittest, which is not really the right way of looking at it, but it's the moniker that's stuck for so damn long. And it's not exactly wrong, but it's not exactly right. Be that as it may. There is one piece about evolution, however, that does kind of fit the bill, in that evolution ensures who dies sooner. Now, the reason why I put it that way is that, and as I've said on many an occasion, I don't like to use my openings as the springboard for the topic at large, but it kind of has to be. I got to thinking earlier this week about the problem that we've run into with political discourse in my country and how it seems to be all but naught at this point. And there's a line, and Joey is going to definitely appreciate this one, and I'm going to completely butcher it for intended reasons. Good is so damn dumb. The problem that we run into is that so many of us who are trying to be the voices of reason, trying to be the moderators, trying to help educate, to gently steer the discussion, are being drowned out, and in some cases being intentionally targeted now. Fortunately, there is somebody who is in custody in Florida who sent a bunch of bombs through the mail and wasn't exactly what you might call a criminal mastermind. Leave it at that. But the point of it is, there is a problem in that how do you uphold your integrity and your honor and show how to be a good, responsible person, while at the same time, people are looking to, in some cases, literally shoot you down? The problem that we run into this is, yes, you can be that good, upstanding personality, and you could be showing people how to really compose yourself and be. But the problem of it is, if the ones who don't want anything to do with that are the ones who are literally culling the herd, that are following that, teaching that, what ends up happening? By the numbers and by statistics and by evolution. And evolution, I mean, you want to yell and scream about it, fine. But, I mean, it's all statistics, man. You have a smaller pool to work from. And that's a problem. That is a huge problem. Because you could be right. And dare I say, those of us who are the moderators, who want to be the teachers, who want to be the progressives, call us liberals if you want, the ones who are looking out for more than just my well-being, but for as many people's well-being as possible, if we're the voices that have what could arguably be said to be for the betterment of society at large, but we're being literally, physically attacked, maybe even killed, what does that leave you with? The people that say that they want to leave the country because they don't feel safe, because they don't see any way out of helping at all, they leave, and what does that leave you with? All you end up with is something that is simply cancerous to its core. At this point, there is still a lot to be salvaged. There are a lot of people that can be helped, that can be taught, that you can talk with and try to figure a way through all of this. But damn it, this marathon of trying to get rid of this damned cancer is going to go on for a hell of a lot longer than I want it to. And maybe that's for the best. This is episode 233 on the docket, Rules of Engagement. Yeah, like I said, I didn't want to kind of lead into the overall topic and subject, but I really didn't want to be talking about, the pipe bombs and all this bullshit that's been going on because, and I could have very easily just done a fluff and just said, yeah, let's just talk about all the mythology and, the scary stuff because Halloween coming up and yeah, I couldn't in good conscience do something like that, unfortunately. So you're stuck with us for tonight, actually talking through heavy shit again. Sorry. It's what you signed up for. So we'll deal with it as best we can as usual. Heretic Woman, I didn't have any, well, truth be told, I didn't go looking because I have otherwise been a little bit busy. But I'm guessing that since I didn't get any kind of notices, there's probably no new information as usual.
I have not seen anything, no.
Again, nothing new, which is unfortunate, but is what it will be as of the recording of tonight's show. It is now 6 years, 4 months, 12 days since Rafe Badawi was unjustly incarcerated for thought crime. Our thoughts and our hopes are still with you and your family, and we're still waiting and hoping. Really are. So, like I said, political discourse in North America has become, is it too much to say cancerous?
It's no longer discourse. It's now free-for-all deadly murder and murderous intent.
I mean, we have a history of America of having violent outbursts. We have both by the people and our elected officials. We have had fights break out in Congress. We have had people beating each other up on docks, in just the streets and things like that, over one politician over another, or a particular topic, something that's going to be voted on, or something that somebody else is supportive of and isn't supportive of. We've had freaking wars in this country over political discourse. This is nothing new. No. It's just a case of we get information faster than ever before. We are able to communicate faster than ever before, and it's all unfiltered. So the average person doesn't always filter their input through, okay, look, before I react to this, and mind you, this is me talking. This is a guy who tries to filter my input, and I'll every once in a while read something, and my emotional side will go, bam! And there goes my logic right out the freaking window. And I have to wait till I calm down before I can respond. Because if I don't...
To be fair, Tech, the people beating each other up in Congress, verbally speaking, because...
No, I'm talking physical.
Well, I would say that if somebody were to pull an Andrew Jackson, whip out a hickory cane, and beat the crap out of some poor schmuck, that might actually improve the situation.
Well, let's be careful about this, because the last time I remember somebody specifically bringing a stick of sorts to a congressional kind of thing, it was over in Japan, and somebody in the Diet kind of got what's the word that I'm looking for? Impaled on a katana. I think that's the politically correct term for it.
Here's an example. February 15th, 1798. Yeah, I know this is a while back. Federalist Congressman Roger Griswold of Connecticut attacked Vermont Representative Matthew Lyon with a hickory walking stick in the chambers of the United States House of Representatives. He attacked him on the shoulders, heads, and arms. The guy ended up having to take a pair of metal tongs to fight back. And then after it kind of calmed down, the guy with the walking stick started up again.
I'm sorry. I'm not the only one that's suddenly hearing the modern Major General singing in his head, right? Because it was like something out of Pirates of Penzance.
1837. on December 4th, 1837, John Wilson, the Speaker of the Arkansas House of Representatives and President of the Arkansas Real Estate Bank, stabbed Representative J.J. Anthony to death during a legislative dispute on the floor of the chamber.
Damn.
Yeah, and this was over bounties for killing of wolves. So,
Wow.
Well, just goes to show, back then, people stood for their convictions.
Yeah. 1856,
And,
another person attacked it. 1858, another person attacked it. 1860, anti-slavery speech. Physical altercation, 1887.
Okay.
And it keeps going all the way forward and forward and forward.
Wow.
This is nothing new, people. But the problem is that this shouldn't be happening anymore.
And
Yeah,
I thought it was bad when Trudeau called Peter Kent a piece of shit a few years ago.
Yeah, there's that. As an aside, by the way, Stephanie is saying in the House of Commons in the UK, the two sides are kept more than 2 sword lengths apart. That's actually, that is a piece of arcane lore I happen to find absolutely adorable. I like that.
I'm sure, and ours probably are too, since we're
Based off of the whole damn thing, yeah.
So next time two guys are arguing in the House of Commons, one shows up with a bill hook and then the other with a friggin' pike.
I could just see it. You can't take my freedom. I know I'm butchering the whole thing, but the length of the damn thing, you get the idea.
I don't know. Bill hooks and pikes are pretty damn long.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. That's true. But you know, the Wallace sword, you know, where it's like a horse length long kind of piece of metal.
If it weren't for my horse, I would have never spent a year in college. We miss you.
See, me, I'm thinking you placed a bet at OTB. Yeah, that's what I'm going to go with. And we're not going to go any further than that because I like where my brain is right now, and don't you dare take me away from that. Now, see, like I was saying that in North America, because on the Canadian side, especially over there in Ontario, you guys are dealing with freaking buddy boy fraud.
Yeah, one person on my feed calls him drug fraud, which has a nice ring to it. But yes, he's not as overtly racist, although he is racist. He's just not as open about it. He's all like, "Oh, I want to be your friend," and he keeps trying to distract us with alcohol. The latest one is, well, he started with a buck of beer. Yeah. And his latest one is, I'm going to allow open liquor drinking in public parks.
Hey, I like beer.
Yeah, I like beer, man. I like beer a lot.
Beer, it's liquid bread.
Not necessarily. Guinness, now that's liquid bread. But you can't call Corona liquid bread. Sorry.
It's a good point.
Oh, I had a dream that I was drinking Corona the other night, which is really weird because I've never touched the stuff and I hate. I think so, because I hate beer and I would never drink one, but I was drinking a Corona going, oh wow, it's Corona. Weird. But yes, we have a Trumpish loser running our province right now, and it sucks.
Yeah. And I think that's probably one of the worst things to think about this. Now, I will be the first to admit that I was a kid during the 70s, so I wasn't really given a lot of information about what was going on after, the civil rights marches and the Civil Rights Act. What I saw, I thought, was decent relations between, and I'm going to remind everybody that I'm putting this in scare quotes for a second, the races.
Mm-hmm.
I can't stand that anymore. Okay? people have different ways about them because of where their families came from. And if that's a problem for you, there's an airlock you can go jump out of on your own, okay? There you go. I'm sure there's a queen that'd be really happy to see at that point. But in the 70s, I thought things were pretty okay. Everybody got along. Everybody made fun of everybody else. And we knew it was all in okay taste. It may have been poor taste, really, but we all agreed, we had this overall agreement that we were all able to pick on each other so long as nobody took it personally.
And it wasn't malicious.
No, it was a running joke to find out who could come up with the best zinger, just to find out who could come up with the best zinger. The Saturday Night Live skit with Richard Pryor and Chevy Chase in particular is the one that I always think of, where they go back and forth with some racial slurs. I will admit, I will not repeat them at the moment. I will try to find the clip, however, but it was in the taste at the time of, I can come up with something. How good can you come up with? And, you know, okay. But now, it's not even a matter of having any respect. It's a matter of how much can you mudsling, how much can you tear down somebody else, and not even care. Like we talked about before, you know, winning at any possible way just to win. And if that means that you play dirty pool, or not even play pool, you just tear the damn covering of the pool table and light it on fire behind you, I mean, who cares so long as you win? And that bothers me, because it ain't the way it's been.
What is winning? How do you define win?
Being in power, no matter the cost. That's what it comes to be now.
Yeah, being in a position to modify the laws to your own ideological bend, no matter if it is going to be challenged in the courts and lose later or not.
Is that a position of reason?
It doesn't matter.
That's just the political reality that we have. Doesn't mean it's reasonable. It just is.
Maybe that's something worth talking about.
Oh, it absolutely is. And that, as a matter of fact, that's actually going to be part of it for tonight. Because, like I was saying, once upon a time, being a statesman meant I've said this too many damn times, but I've got to do it again. I think this is a problem, and I think this is the way to solve it. Well, I don't agree with you. Yes, I agree that this is a problem, but I think the way to solve this problem is to do this instead. The two sides were not necessarily mutually exclusive to each other or diametrically opposed. They had different ways of dealing with something. And they got together, and they talked, and they figured out, do they agree on what the actual problem is? Good. And then figure out how to try to address and solve the problem. And it's like these days, you can't even see that there is a problem. Both sides can't agree that there is a problem. A perfect example, the Colin Kaepernick protests. He's gone ahead and said there's a problem with police officers disproportionately going after people of color, minorities, and they're taking the brunt of it, and they're being killed far, far and away more than the non-minority groups. Let's just say, put it that way for the moment. And if that's true, just give me a second on this one. If that's true, that's a problem. That is a massive problem. Because the police are supposed to be there, as we've traditionally heard, to protect and to serve. Protect being the first piece. But even after it's shown statistically that yes, this is actually a problem, and here it is, we have a problem, and we think that we would like to fix it this way. And a whole other side is just, we don't see a problem. There's no problem there. We don't have anything to fix. Everything's fine. What's your problem? You're actually trying to go ahead and attack us in something that's got nothing to do with that because persecution complex. And that's, I think, one of the biggest problems. There isn't even the agreement on where there are actual problems. Yes, I'm intentionally pausing to make sure that people are, soaking it in and either telling me, what the hell are you talking about? Or, jumping in with something to this. So if you're listening to the podcast version and you're wondering, why are there pauses? No, it's exactly the way it's supposed to be right now. Don't worry about it. It's going around.
I thought you were channeling your inner Kirk.
Thanks. Thanks ever so much.
Couldn't help it.
He's going to start singing Rocket Man in a second.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Although I will go ahead and say, the fact that Callie Wright got the chance to fangirl all over the guy that created the Klingon language, I am so proud of you and so pissed off at the same time. So, there's reasons for that. But anyway, okay, seriously, back onto it though. The idea that both sides cannot agree that there is a problem that is shown to be a problem and completely poo-pooing and dismissing it. Forgive the meta, that's a problem.
Well, I think it's willfully dismissing the notion that there is a problem. They're not even willing to consider that there might be a problem. Just if you think there's a problem, that automatically means no, it's not. Just because you're taking a position and we're going to go against that position no matter what.
Yeah, Joey will appreciate this. Oh, I'm sorry. Were you here for the 5 minutes or the full half hour?
Happy ending?
Monty Python, The Argument.
No, you haven't. Yes, I have. No, I didn't.
Exactly.
Yes, I did.
Exactly.
This parrot is no more. It has ceased to be.
Point of order, Your Honor.
I don't care.
That's great. But, I mean, Brigid, what you're describing is exactly the argument skit.
Yeah.
You just gainsaying, just no, it isn't.
And you can't work with that. Nobody can work with that.
Well, you're
Fake
supposed
news.
to. The next step is the next rational step, anyways. Is well, if you're going to make a claim, well, you have to back it up with evidence.
But that's the problem.
But we do, and they dismiss the evidence.
And they say
Evidence doesn't matter. They have alternative facts. Why do they need evidence?
I really get the idea, and a sinking feeling that a lot of people just, reality for a lot of people is it's a concept.
Reality. What a concept, as Robin Williams once said.
Like some of these people, I'd love to put them out in the middle of a forest and see how far their concepts take them.
Yeah, truly. But I mean,
it's somebody else's fault at that point. Don't forget.
Yeah, it always is. But now see, this is kind of looping back onto something else that we talked about before. Heretic Woman. If a government on your side of the border behaved in such a manner that completely poo-pooed actual real-life science. Okay, other than
You mean the 12 years of the Harper government?
I wasn't going to say babyface Harper, but sure, let's go ahead and let's bring him up. Would there not be, like we've talked about before, a friggin' vote to say, yeah, we don't think that you guys should be in power anymore?
Well, it happened, but not, I don't think because of that.
No.
Unfortunately, the way he did it, people didn't really know that it was going on. And it wasn't until he'd been in power for a number of years before the scientific community really started to get the word out as to what was going on.
No, I know. But my point being is that if a
we have the option of a vote of non-confidence.
Yeah,
yes,
that's where I'm going with this. I mean, if there's a group that's just saying, yeah, we don't believe in the facts. I mean, the people should just have the opportunity to say, yeah, no, out.
Yeah. Much, although it's a lot easier if it was a minority government in the first place, but
agreed.
You know, it could, like, I'm sorry if somehow, and it better not ever happen, but if some twit like Ford ever got elected as the prime minister, oh hell, he'd be gone pretty quickly. I'm hope. Yeah,
that's what I'm hearing. Is you have remedies for this right now? We really don't.
Well, all you've got is impeachment, and even then, like, that's
not going to happen because we don't have people with the political will to do it, because they're getting what they want. And one thing that's really scaring me now, or starting to really concern me, is looking at what's going on with early voting in Texas. There are votes now where people are voting straight Democrat ticket and votes are flipping to Ted Cruz. That's a problem.
Machines are hackable.
This is why I don't like the idea of using machines. And now, our last election in Ontario, where drug fraud got elected, they used a machine to count the votes in some ridings. And I don't even like that idea. Like, I worked as a poll clerk, and it's not that hard. And it didn't take us very long to get our counts in and reconciled and posted so that they had results as soon as possible. There was virtually no way to screw around with the polling process when you're using pencil and paper.
Yeah.
And our votes also are 100% anonymous.
Here's the other thing. They do screw around with ours in voting. They'll throw people's out because the signatures are just a little bit off. I'm talking about absentee ballot going on right now.
Right.
Had cases throughout history where there was ballot box stuffing. The people, the integrity of the people who were handling the ballots were people of questionable accountability, were put in positions of authority over that so that they could actually mismanage the ballots, things like that. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's this, again, is nothing new. This is the methodology behind the actions have changed. The problem is that it shouldn't be happening anymore.
No. What I found was a bit odd is I get the impression that in some places they actually do know how people vote, because they were talking about people, like, because of ID laws changing or polling stations closing and things, that people were losing their vote. And basically the Republicans saying, well, we know those people are going to vote liberal or Democrat. And it's like, how the fuck would you know? Like, it is so sacred here that your vote is is completely anonymous. In fact, and with the voter ID stuff in Canada, let's say you lost your driver's license or whatever, and you really want to vote. You know what you need in order to vote if you don't have ID? You need to bring a person with you who will swear an oath that you are who you say you are. And that's good enough for our government.
That would never fly here.
Well, I mean, here they send out, I don't know who they are. I don't know what organization it is that does it, but someone mails out information to all of the neighbors of how each person in the neighborhood voted the last election.
What?
Yes, at least
that's insane.
Here,
like
where I am.
No one would ever know.
Knows.
No one would ever know how you voted here unless you told them yourself.
Well, they document it and they mail it to the neighbors.
Even the people running the election have no idea how you personally voted. They have no way of knowing that because of how our elections are conducted. Like you're given a ballot, like it has a serial number on it, but that's just to track that you voted, right? Like once the returning officer is the only person that can physically touch the ballots. So even though I was a poll clerk and I was there assisting with the count, I was legally not allowed to physically touch those ballots at all. One person only could touch those ballots. And once they are in their sealed envelope, they've already been counted. We've already counted them and verified the count. So once they get sealed up, that's it. Nobody ever touches them again.
Yeah,
they're
something
done.
like that to me sounds like it would be some kind of, I was going to say federal elections thing, but it's handled at the state level. That is some. Forgive me for borrowing somebody else's line. That's some shady shit right there, man. There is no way, there's no reason for that kind of information to get out, and it shouldn't get out. I mean, what the hell is the point of a secret ballot?
But I don't know who's funding it. I don't know if it's people in the state that funds that, if it's GOP organization who's been funding it. I have no idea. But I just know that they do mail this information out to the neighbors, and you know how all of your neighbors in this neighborhood voted.
That's insane. That's absolutely insane.
There's a lot of information that's readily available to the public if you know where to go to. I mean, hell, you can go to the DMV and get information on people's cars.
Not here. Not unless you're law enforcement.
Before getting away from the subject, you just asked a question that we're completely forgetting. Is it like who finances this kind of campaign? But the thing is, with the modern system, with corporations and things like that, well, the corporations fund the politicians already. So why can't the corporations go around politics entirely and also finance the misinformation campaigns and things like that? They can do that. It's completely within their means. It's like what they did in Russia. They hired basically a bunch of geeks to spread misinformation during the 2016 election, and it was a private company, and it was financed by a company that had I don't think, were they able to demonstrate whether it was financed by the Kremlin itself or
not yet that I'm aware of.
But they can't trace back who financed this thing there, as far as I know. And that kind of obfuscation is it's completely possible.
Yeah.
So if you've got the same entities controlling the politics, they can also control the information. There's no means. We really need to put in place checks and balances against that.
Oh, for sure.
A means of oversight, but there is none for the time being.
And we take the secret ballot so seriously that even if someone is caught with voter fraud, like one scenario would be if somebody voted early and then showed up at the polling station on election days. Oh no, I don't know why that says I voted already. I didn't. And again, you could swear an oath that says I didn't vote yet, and we'll let you vote. And both those will catch you later, because we'll figure out that no, you signed the other thing and you did in fact vote and whatever, and you'll go to jail. But both those votes count, because there is zero way to know which vote was done twice erroneously. There's just no way to know, and we don't want to know.
Yeah,
we would rather have a fraudulent vote here and there than compromise that privacy.
Yeah, and let's face it, one vote here and there ain't gonna sway tens of thousands of votes. That's just stupid and insane.
That's virtually the only way that you could, so somebody who's maybe not eligible to vote, they get somebody to swear that they're somebody else, blah, blah, blah. So we catch them, we punish them. It's a vote. It's so rare that would ever happen that we just don't care to that extent.
Yeah. And let me kind of backtrack this a little bit, because what Brigid had talked about how people's voting records are getting mailed out. Who did it isn't that important, but you know how I keep telling you that the why is the important part to me with all this stuff. Why would anybody or anyone do something like that? And the answer is simple. Intimidation.
Absolutely.
It is potentially voter suppression. It is trying to force conformity, which I know full well Joseph would look at it and go, that's one way to force it, sure, yeah, because social interactions and all that. But it's not only is it incredibly illegal, it's probably to a point where, yeah, I can do this. Why? Because who's going to stop me? And they don't even care. Or they do care, and it's just, whatever. I'm doing what I'm doing. Piss off. That's not the way it's been. Over here in I'm not quite sure I understand that. Over here in New York State, for decades, we used to use, and we actually used to manufacture up here in the Buffalo region, the good old-fashioned mechanical voting booths. The big ones with the curtains that come across and the little switches and levers that you tick, 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 tick. Okay, you're all done? Good. Rank. Okay, everything's voted. I, for one, miss those. However, there's a piece of this that I'm kind of getting to wonder about. Now, I know that these mechanical voting booths were a pain in the ass to set up because they took a lot of setup time. Okay, whatever. But things have moved into stranger ways of doing the voting. The electronic voting machines, where you're actually touching buttons or tapping on a screen, which, yes, there have been reports of straight ticket Democrat votes. You go up to the review and things have been switched over to a Republican, even though it said straight ticket Democrat. Yeah. So here's the thing. The meta of this all, I really wonder. The use of anything other than a friggin' bingo card, effectively. Anything other than a simple, straight piece of paper that you mark seems to be fraught with inherent security risks.
Yep.
Maybe, and I'm saying this just here, just maybe, that should be the de facto and the standard once and for all, because where I vote, you get a paper ballot and it goes into effectively the same thing as like a Scantron. It goes in, it collates the votes, keeps the paper in a hopper, in a secured hopper, but the totals are logged for later, and if they need to or if they have to recount, the papers are all still there, and they can then re-verify it. I shouldn't say re-verify it. They can verify it and make sure, but just straight paper. And none of this punch card kind of thing with that fucking hanging Chad bullshit again.
I showed you what one of our ballots looks like right there.
There is one thing I was going to say, is that with the ballots, they should all be serialized, and we should be able to have that receipt. So that way we have the ability to go back and say, I want to double check. It's like, I voted for who I thought I voted for. I suspect somebody may have tampered with the votes. I want to see my copy.
No. I'm gonna tell you categorically no, because that introduces the possibility that someone can go backwards and find your voting record other than you and see what it is that you did.
Then what's to prevent ballot stuffing?
Exactly what was said. Finding the people after the fact. And how many do you think could really get away with doing it at any one time?
It's a $50,000 fine or in 5 years in prison.
That's okay.
Still have people do it.
Yeah.
But not get caught.
Yeah, but it's virtually unheard of. Like, I cannot remember anyone ever being caught doing it in my lifetime.
How long does it take to process DNA now?
I got my 23andMe in 6 weeks.
I mean, the actual process, like the.
I don't know. Not long.
Because I think
don't know anymore.
DNA scanners are not far enough here.
But it's just a quick point about our ballot here. So that's a picture of our ballot that I have up. And if you're wondering why it's black, because, that does take a lot of ink to print. That's because people would make marks outside the circle, and it was hard to tell is like if they didn't put the X all the way in the circle or something. So this way, everything else is blacked out. You can't see anything outside the circle. So if it's not in the circle, no one can see it, and it would be considered a spoiled ballot. But that's what they look like. They're pieces of paper, and you just use a pencil like you would get, at the bowling alley.
Sure.
And that's all it is.
And it makes sense. It's simple. And sometimes that's, if it ain't broke, don't screw it up.
Yep. That's why I
intentionally flipped it around.
That's why I'm not happy that these tabulating machines have been showing up at our elections lately. We don't need that shit. We shouldn't be getting it. It's dangerous.
Oh, can you explain to me again how this works, the tabulation machine?
Well, they would take that ballot that I just showed you and insert it into a machine that would then be able to read where the X on the ballot was and then mark a vote for that particular candidate.
Okay, from a geek perspective, there are so many points of failure in that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if that's programmed.
Right.
because the more open doors there are, well, the more.
That's why I don't like them. I'm vehemently against them.
Sorry, Shujin.
No, it's quite all right. And see, this kind of pulls together with it, although it may not necessarily seem it. I mean, the idea of the simplicity of voting itself is the voice of the people. And I kind of wonder now, thinking about it, all this time later, as much as I've romanticized the voting, the old mechanical voting booth, because I mean, I can still hear what it sounded like in my head. And I was even talking with the little one just, this past week. It's like, I remember you lifted me up. You let me hit one of the levers. And I wanted to do that. Then we didn't have that anymore. But yeah, I know. I was pinning.
I remember the old ones from school. You had to literally grab the handle.
Yep.
And go whack.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I kind of wonder if all of this stuff has been slowly maneuvering the voice of the voting populace.
Sure looks that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
it's intentional.
It's a scary thing to me, man.
Yeah.
What scares me is that nobody's doing anything about it. We say we're very few to observe this, and people may even whine about it in the press, but nobody does anything. But that's because a majority of the population either doesn't care or doesn't get it or whatever. That's the only reason.
It kind of makes me wonder if you intentionally voted with an absentee ballot instead. I wonder if that would go through a machine or if it would be counted. That would have to be a huge. That would have to be a huge push in order to get people to go ahead and do that, though.
Well, I think in some states, though, if you vote absentee ballot, they consider those like they would provisional ballots. They won't count them unless it's close and they have to.
Yeah.
So, wait a minute. So they don't necessarily count absentee ballots?
Because statistically speaking, if the number of absentee and provisional ballots would not statistically make any difference in the winner of the election of a group.
See, now we absentee ballots are of course done in advance, and those suckers are counted, man. Like there's no not counting anything. We don't care. You're gonna count that shit.
There's a whole bunch of shady shit with our elections.
Yep.
But do you see what I mean about reality becoming a concept? Because if you don't fit a certain mold, you're disqualified. That's but a vote is a vote, no matter how you do it. And just by getting lost in the details, they seem to just gloss over that. Like, how does that happen in anybody's?
There's a lot of people who feel their vote doesn't matter because that's what they're told to think. They're told to think if they don't vote.
That's the reigning problem, is that people do not feel implicated in the democratic process because they see that it's not one, basically.
Yeah.
It's going into another level, but I mean, in a subconscious, if we don't see if your subconscious doesn't see the point in something, you just won't be interested in it. Your conscious won't even be aware of it. So, a lot of people, when they think to go out and vote, well, they don't, without even really thinking about it, they don't really see any point in it.
And the problem becomes when you keep being told, okay, go out and vote, and things don't go your way. Go out and vote.
Why should I go out and vote? It doesn't count for anything. And when there's no answer for people who think that it doesn't count for anything,
and it could be discouraging. I mean, I'm kind of I don't conform. I'm a nonconformist. So virtually every person I've ever voted before has never been elected. It's just, I kind of expect that because I tend to be different than most other people. But it does get really disheartening, election after election. You take the time to decide who you think the best candidate is and make your vote, and then they never win.
There should be no concept. You shouldn't have to think about different and all that. It should be a working process, or it isn't.
Well,
you are a person, and you have your, way of living. You have your, I don't know, ideal for what this world should be, and you have your say, and that's it. And
well,
I think
it's just a matter of.
It's an accumulation of all that. It's the result of all that, of individuals like that.
Well, yeah, voting. It's just that I tend to be in the minority most of the time.
Yeah, as most thinking people, unfortunately.
Yeah. I mean, there was one year, I think it was like 2003, where Ontario was voting on the option to change our voting process to make it more even amongst the provinces, or no, it was just in Ontario, but to make it more even among the various municipalities, so it had better representation. And I thought it was a brilliant plan. I thought it was going to be great for future elections, and it lost abysmally. And I'm just like, what the hell is wrong with you people? Like, this would have been great for the province, but how the hell did that happen?
Don't know. You're okay over there?
Yeah, you kind of phased out.
Who, me?
Yeah, your mic was suddenly half cutting in, half not. You're fine now.
I don't know.
Okay.
I suddenly became Klingon.
No, not even.
I think my kitten has run off to go to sleep somewhere finally. He's not destroying anything in the room currently. So
that's good. That's good. All right. So screwing around systematically with the will of the vote, for lack of a better way of putting it, beating people down, year after year after decade of trying to vote and having bad things, continue to happen. It gets disheartening. And like I was saying, the interactions now from person to person is absolutely abysmal. I mean, there's no two ways of putting it. You either are, you're either with us or you are the chosen enemy, and that's it, and you deserve nothing but you deserve no mercy. It's freaking Cobra Kai is what it is. Your enemy is your enemy. He deserves no mercy. Sweep the leg, Johnny. I don't care. Break his leg. I don't care. Win no matter what. I don't get it. And maybe that's where part of the problem is. I'm the type of person who would rather and see what you think about this one. I would rather lose honorably than win dishonorably. And
that's
why?
That's why we lose. That's why we lose. Because when the other side's cheating, it's not a game anymore.
Yeah. I have to agree with there.
And I have to wonder how much religiosity plays into that, because we've all seen how the devoutly religious have no problem lying for Jesus, which would equate to cheating for Jesus as well. Because, I have to get into office to protect those unborn babies, and it doesn't matter how I get there because I'm protecting unborn babies, damn it. Like that kind of mentality, they're not going to give a damn how they get elected as long as they do.
Yeah.
There's something underneath all this. You know, we're talking about, basically what we're talking about is behavior patterns. And there's a good part of the population where the behavior pattern is predictable.
Well, now see, the problem is, yes, it's predictable. I mean, we can expect, and we have seen the comedians at night who've said, let's just wait and see how long it takes for the White House to go ahead and say some nice things and then flip it around. Oh, it didn't take them all 5 minutes up on that stage.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we know that this happens.
But why is it predictable?
Because he's a fucking moron, that's why.
No, how is it possible that everything is predictable like that? I mean, the entire system seems to be gained to that.
Yeah.
Right now it is.
I mean, that's what we should really be talking about. I mean,
I don't know how to ungame it. I don't know.
Education is what I say, but
but the problem is there's a concerted effort to block education precisely for that reason.
That's part of the game, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So basically, you've got this is where the real divide is. It's between predictable humans and those who would like to control them on one side, and rational people on the other. And I guess that's more or less represented by the Democratic and Republican docket.
No.
But the Democratic, I think maybe half of the Democratic voters are willing or able to reason. Yeah, I don't want to be Nancy negative. Just I'm depressing myself even saying that. Over the past 3 years, basically, I've come to realize, you know, I'm an optimist, and I tend to project my own thoughts onto other people. But I'm coming to realize that actually reality is that a good lot of the population just simply aren't thinking, don't want to, don't need to really, because they're comfortable.
Which, of course, brings up another question of, is it because they're comfortable, or they've been told or forced into a position of not caring enough to change things? But that's a whole other piece for later. What I wanted to kind of, not exactly correct you, but to guide you a little bit differently, because as we know from history in the U.S., and I say that because I know the history in the U.S., what the two major parties in the U.S., politically speaking, have stood for have flipped over the years to where the Democrats at one point were the ones in the South who were much more the secessionists and wanted to keep slavery, and the Republicans were the ones that wanted to end slavery and pull everybody together. And now I would say it's fair to say that the outlooks have flipped between the two of them. So I was going to guide you to more say conservatives versus progressives or liberals.
I'm only concerned about the here and now.
Now, I understand that. I understand, and that's
how
that's
they
why
were in the past. Anyways, anybody who follows tradition without is that rational? I think we're talking about the same thing again.
Well, no, not exactly. What I'm trying to point out is that there's a difference between each of the political parties. I don't really much care what they're looking towards, but the question of is their outlook a conservative one to keep what's going on and even expand into that, or the progressive or liberal ones who are looking to expand for the benefit for all instead of for the few. That's the reason why I wanted to say maybe reframing it as conservative versus liberal instead of Democrat versus Republican, because then at that point it pretty well opens up to everybody. The conservatives in Canada versus the liberals in Canada, or anywhere else.
It defies categorization. I mean, all you can do is just discard that and talk about the basic behavior. But if you want to try to apply that, yeah, sure.
Okay, I may have just accidentally painted myself into a corner about the whole damn thing, but
well, no, but I see where you're trying to go, but I'm just trying to say it's impossible to go there, really. It's hard to cram things into a box.
sometimes it is. Yeah. Sorry?
I was making a joke. I said unless it's a dick, because dick in a box.
Rather go with a cat, but okay, that's a whole other thing.
It's a joke.
Yes, I know. TD, by the way, I did see you over there. TDTF. It's like a loci of control. I'm not entirely certain where we were at the point when you wrote that, but that does make for an interesting piece of it all. Who has the control, and why do they tend to be the focus of it? And here in the U.S., the conservatives tend to be strongholds in various areas, specifically in the South. The secessionist South, I should very specifically say, because, the war of northern aggression and all that bullshit, which is a whole other thing. I mean, you don't see us fighting with Canada after, the War of 1812. I know. Shut up. Anyway. But
not yet.
Because you lost.
We did not lose.
Oh, come on. We burnt your White House to the ground.
Yeah, but it was pink.
That's really actually why your White House
Actually, you know what? I just Googled that not too long ago, and it was not ever pink. That's an urban legend.
But it was painted white to cover the burn marks, so.
Something like that. But I always thought it was pink too, but I looked it up and it wasn't. So.
Oh.
Polka dots?
No.
Rainbows.
No, marble is never polka dot. If you have polka dot marble, something is really wrong with where you're getting your...
It's called agate. It's called agate.
I don't need this. Really don't need this. No, fuck you, man. I don't need this bullshit. Thank you ever so much. Just, I had good education growing up, man. Don't be throwing this stuff in my face that I don't know what I'm talking about. Thanks so much. You don't care. Whatever. Anyway, the back to where I was. The secessionist South. Nice going there, guys. How's that tooth doing for you? The point that I'm trying to get to, though, is that they hold on to their secessionist heritage with the fervor of a religious organization, otherwise known as, what's the word I'm looking for? Cult. And they absolutely refuse, as was mentioned before, attempts to bring education levels up. Possibly for exactly that reason, to keep everything down like that.
Cannot say that you're wrong.
I'm not going to claim a conspiracy, but I do know that for the people I can hypothesize based on the history of humanity as we currently understand it and know it to be. It is beneficial for people in positions of authority and power to have, in terms of control over a populace, an undereducated populace.
A non-critically thinking populace.
Yes, exactly. And now that all kind of goes hand in hand there. And
I'd go one step further, but sorry, go on.
No. What's the one step further?
People who have no sense of responsibility for their own survival.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's a lot to unpackage. Maybe.
Yeah. it all meshes together. And
Yeah,
you know, with that perception of the people in authority constantly spouting that everything's in their best interests and everything's going to be all right and they don't have to worry.
We will protect, we will provide, we will decide.
Yeah, even if they're not actually doing it, they're just saying
obey.
They're not questioning it. So it all goes together.
So people who are comfortable, people who defer to authority, they think they're being protected, provided for, etc. They've actually they're not shirked, but given off the responsibility for their own survival to somebody else. And you know, that explains a lot of their behavior. Like, for example, like people who would vote for Trump even if he shot somebody on Broadway. You know,
on Fifth Avenue, I think it was. That he said.
Yeah. Sorry, I kind of get my information's a little distilled over here.
The problem with that is simply that Trump's hands are just too tiny to use any general firearm.
At least one that's enough to cause death.
A Lady Remington? Come on.
I was thinking more like one of those youth shooter 22s.
Yeah.
You know, the hot pink one with the Hello Kitty on the back?
Yeah. Well, it wouldn't do more than a flesh wound, but...
You know, I'd rather get shot with one of those 22s than with my 38.
Yeah.
Now, you're already under arrest.
Hey, to be fair,
make it worse on you.
To be fair, people talk a lot of shit about 22 caliber.
Uh-oh.
A lot of the deaths in the Old West were from 22 caliber. Granted, they were at point blank range, but at that range, it doesn't matter whether you're hit with a 45 or a 38 or a 22, you're still getting a hole in you.
Or a goat. I mean, you could be hit with a goat. It doesn't really much matter. Point blank range, a goat is just as bad as a 22.
I wouldn't exactly say that.
With a proper acceleration, yes, it could be. Anyway, but I just typed something in our chat I think is kind of interesting. I wanted to give it over to you, Tech. The idea of, Grasshopper, I taught you everything you know, but I didn't teach you everything that I know. Funny how that plays into exactly what you were describing, though, no?
It does. This whole idea of not teaching people critical thinking skills, how to think for themselves, how to question the things that they learn, how to research, how to just not take everything at face value. You know, I've said it before. There were interviews of people out in our country, and we're a first world country, supposedly, telling, hey, you know, who do you plan on, why do you plan on voting for this elected official? Well, you know, they represent my best interests. And it's like, you do realize this official is trying to get rid of the programs that are keeping you alive, providing you food and everything else that you need because you have no other means to get this stuff. Well, they'll get it right eventually. I have faith in them. Wait, what? Mm-hmm. What? No, use your brains.
Yeah, you want to talk about people with bad education and reasoning skills? All I got to do is say this one. Math. Congratulations, Canada, on finally accepting the 24-hour clock.
What?
Congratulations, Canada, on 1 million miles of paved roadway.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody doesn't know what we're talking about, I will have to I'll have to make a, there's two things I gotta put into the chat so I remember to put into stuff.
Courtesy of Mr. Mercer.
I bet you heard the whooshing sound from way over there.
We've talked about Rick Mercer before. Rick's good at what he does. He's been very good at what he does.
Just to continue. Yeah, what Unrenowned was talking about sorry, having a bit of a lapse here, but we're talking about critical thinking skills and all that. But let's just take a look at what does it take to survive in today's society, because we're protected from nature. We don't need to survive for ourselves anymore. So basically all it takes to survive these days is to look at another human, look at their health. That's a healthy human. Oh, okay, so I'm just going to do what they're doing. I'm just going to imitate them. And that's all it takes to survive in this world. And the technology we have makes it even worse, makes us even more comfortable. Like, we don't need to think anymore. Most of the population doesn't have to. So how do we motivate people to think?
It has to be a concerted effort. It has to be something that starts early. Oh, motherfucker.
What?
Oh, my... Okay.
Somebody's having an epiphany.
Yeah, I am.
Lightning has just struck my brain.
It's not a good one either.
Oh.
How early should humans learn how to reason? Anybody?
That's
early
as they're capable.
possible.
That's a question that that's a great question.
Yes.
Because even I
let me show you.
I spent a long time thinking about this.
Okay. Let me show you where my brain has suddenly gone with me. We've talked about this before. Brigid, laboratory investigations. We've already found out that rats who have no social network that we can discern ourselves have shown empathy for each other. Yes?
Yeah.
We have also discussed that infants have the ability of also showing empathy and sympathy and self-preservation enough to not try to crawl across a piece of glass and look at the floor is down there. I'm not going to crawl across the glass. I don't care how much you call me.
Mm-hmm.
We've talked about this before, psychology stuff. Children, as young as possible, learning to try to understand and reason and think through various items. One of the earliest TV shows that was intentionally designed with the purpose of helping the inner city minority kids, especially for pre-K into kindergarten and perhaps even first, second grade, was started in September of 1969. Sesame Street.
Me Street. Yep.
Taught rudimentary counting and vocabulary and concepts and social interactions and emotional awareness. And over the last couple of years was trimmed down from a 1 hour program on PBS to a half an hour program on HBO.
Wait, what?
That's awful.
Oh, you didn't hear about this, Joe?
No, I was not aware of this.
Within the last year or year and a half or so, I believe is what it was moved off of PBS to control and production by HBO to a half an hour format to better suit the children of today.
And look what they've done to NPR. And I mean,
to better suit the children of today, those whose families can afford cable, that is.
Bingo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Bingo. So one of the longest running shows on TV in any genre that has been the first stepping stone for the next generation of people and thinkers. And what did we have growing up in the 60s, in the 70s and the early 80s? We had Sesame Street. We had the Electric Company. We had Mr. Rogers. Three of the biggest ones, and arguably the Electric Company, okay. But I mean, come on. On public access television, where anyone could pick it up with a modicum of work with the rabbit ears. I mean, come on.
Mm-hmm.
And these pieces, I mean, is it any wonder that we've got the biopic that came out about Mr. Rogers, and people are looking at it and going, yeah, man, why can't we teach kids these things now?
But there's one thing, even in that period, there's one thing that kind of gets to me is that they still, in these programs, great as they were for education, they still taught by default deference to authority. We should be taught to question authority.
Well, it's
actually our responsibility.
It is.
In any democracy.
Yeah. How much conflict there was in trying to resolve that kind of thing? I don't think there was very much really instituted for that. But at the same time, there were a lot of other social concepts that were brought to our attention. Social, again, emotional awareness, Oscar the Grouch. Basically being able to tell kids it's okay not to be happy all the time and still be a good, productive member of society. And that's just the way that you are. That's just the way that you are.
That's, you've probably heard me rant and complain and just go on tirades over things like modern contemporary children's programming.
I might have once or twice.
Because here's the thing about things like, I don't know, SpongeBob SquarePants and similar shows. They address children if you'll forgive the expression, like they're retarded.
Okay.
Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, never talked down to children. Never dumbed things down for children.
And neither did another one that you guys might have heard of was Mr. Dress Up.
Mr. Dress Up was far more on your side of the border than ours.
Yeah, I kind of figured.
Well, that rings a bell with me.
He was a lot like Mr. Rogers in that respect.
The friendly giant.
Yes, the friendly giant was, but it was different though because it was fantasy based. Yeah. So it didn't really talk, like it didn't really treat the audience like children in the same way. Because it was more like, oh, we're gonna tell like a fun story and play some music.
Yeah,
it wasn't.
I didn't mean to detract from Joe's point.
No, it's with a lot of children's programming these days.
It does. You're right.
There's not even an attempt to address children on an even playing field and to teach them anything.
Yeah.
I mean, arguably, somebody could say the same about Looney Tunes growing up. But Looney Tunes was geared for two reasons. It was geared for family entertainment because Looney Tunes also worked in jokes and such for the adults. And, well, honestly, I like to think that back then you didn't really have to explain to a child why you shouldn't drop an anvil on somebody's head.
Exactly. Not that they ever could, or why you shouldn't strap yourself to a giant rocket on a cliff somewhere.
But I like that point. I like Joseph's point a lot because I mean, just consider ourselves as adults. Imagine that you're going to learn, for example, bread baking, and you know nothing about it. Well, essentially, you're a child for learning that. So, like,
no amount of how-to basic is going to help you.
No. So you got to be led through the first steps and all that.
You'll laugh.
Yeah.
You'll laugh a lot, but it's not going to help you.
Yeah.
No.
And the thing that just popped in my head was, as far as moving Sesame Street to HBO, a couple of things that Sesame Street did teach was cooperation, and also introduction to some Spanish.
Yep.
Yeah, I did notice that in the earlier 2000s that it wasn't the same Sesame Street that I grew up with, because suddenly my niece and nephew were watching Sesame Street, and all of a sudden I hear Spanish, and I'm like, what?
Now, when I was a kid, Sesame Street, it always had French on ours.
When I was watching Sesame Street, they always had Spanish, and I was in New York.
While I was surprised by it, I was also very happy about it, because here's the thing about language. If you're going to teach, or if you're going to learn multiple languages, the best time to do it is during your formative years when you're getting used to your own language.
Yes.
Yeah.
But that was one of Sesame Street's biggest underlying messages, for me anyways, was just overcoming the fear of different.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we need more of that.
Yeah. People were not to be feared just because they were different. They were to be invited in.
Now, if I can tie that back to humans surviving by imitating other humans, like the in-group, like I'm imitating these other people who are healthy and comfortable, and I want to be like them and all that. These are the people who are afraid of things different. Oh, that doesn't fit the pattern. It's dangerous. They see anything different as a danger to their own survival. Instinctively, which also explains a lot of voter behavior patterns. I'm kind of tying everything together, but that's also part of thinking for yourself, is realizing that just because something is different doesn't mean it's dangerous, that it's bad.
Yeah, and I'm actually going to use that in a second, but to finish off the piece where I'm going with that, this whole thing where I got into Sesame Street was that if kids at that age, the pre-K and K and first grade levels, are helped to learn and be inspired, for lack of a better way of putting it, into learning how to think through these things, why couldn't that help to progress them as they continue on? And doesn't that? Because if you instill that early enough, it's going to be there for the rest of whatever. I mean, there are certain words in Spanish I know, and I've held on to them from when I was pre-K and watching Sesame Street, and 75, and I'm 4 years old, 6 years old, whatever the hell it was. I don't even remember. I was a kid then. I don't remember how old I was, but these things hold on to you.
Well, for me, it comes down to one question. If you can teach a kid to think, why did I think that? That's all it takes. Why did I react that way? To have I teach somebody to have a self-analysis, basically, to check up on their own thought processes. which is a thought process in itself. But anyways.
Yeah, but the point being is that if you can get that in early,
well, that's my point too. It's like,
damn it. Now see, now the problem is in my head. Now I've got the whole, if you give me the child, I will bring you back the man. And now the wonderful idea of trying to cultivate better thinkers over a longer period of time, because that's what you got to do, suddenly has the creep factor involved with it, and now I don't know what the hell to think.
I don't know where you're going with that.
Because the old who the hell was it?
That was the Jesuits who said that.
Yeah,
I forget. Isn't it Ignace de Loyola? No, I forget.
It doesn't really much matter who the hell it was, but the point of it was, the whole "give me the boy and I will bring you back the man."
Well, that's indoctrination.
Yeah, and the problem now is that I suddenly have this image in my head that we're kind of talking about the same methodology, but for good?
No. Everything. You have to be. It's all about being held accountable. You have to hold yourself accountable. You have to question everything. Questioning. It comes down to questioning.
And I am. That's the problem. I'm trying to put this into the context of, well, no, wait a second. If I'm
talking about teaching kids to question.
Yeah, no. I know, but maybe I'm just running myself into a circle on this one, because it's like, how far do we instill our idea of what should be and what should be done and what should be taught and how?
What we instill is just basically humans are computers that have gained the ability to program themselves. But unfortunately, a lot of the population isn't using that secondary self-programming function. What we have to do is, kickstart the self-programming part. That's it. And once that's going, we don't have to do anything more. People are going to decide for themselves, and between themselves, rationally, what's good or bad for themselves. There's nothing to indoctrinate.
Yeah, and you got Stephanie pretty much in your corner on this one to basically tell me to shut the hell up this way, saying, quote, all right, not directly quoting, because I need to modify this to, if we're instilling questioning and checking, that is not indoctrination. Yeah, thank you, because I was thinking way too far down a piece in the wrong way. So both of you, thank you for that.
But the scathing atheist says it best. I mean, question everything, even this.
That's cognitive dissonance.
Cognitus.
Oh, sorry, guys.
It's okay.
Doubt even this.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Neither one of them want to come on our show anymore anyway, so it's not entirely. Well, scathing atheists were on, but they're too big for their own britches now. And they've basically said, okay, I might be paraphrasing just a little bit. Piss off, we're asleep at that point. I'm paraphrasing just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, you can only work the glory hole for so many hours in a day.
I know, it's true enough. And the only piece I'm paraphrasing is the piss off part. They were actually really cool with me when I had contacted them. They're just like, we're usually asleep then. Sorry, but and to be completely fair, when I've gotten in touch with Noah a couple of times, he's basically told me, I'm way too busy with stuff that I'm doing at that point in the night. I can't at this point, which is totally understandable considering all the shit they go through at this point. Okay, so backing up a second. Teaching as early as possible is probably the only thing that we can do to really ensure that we have a generation or two or three or five that can understand what it means to have a proper discourse, a proper discussion, a proper talking through
Lose the
of
word proper.
Okay.
Effective. Productive.
Let me word it this way. All right, let me change it up just a little bit. They're not going to be just yelling and screaming past each other as what we have now. How's that?
Yeah. You're going to do it my way. It's basically what everybody's screaming.
If they can even agree on what to scream about, but that's a whole other thing. But the point being is that we need to have that instilled. We need to have that cultivated. We need to have that explained and taught as early as possible for as long as possible over successive school terms and successive generations. And the problem is, like I said, in these almost religiously held strongholds, they refuse to allow this kind of thing to go on because, I was going to say, because they know it will eventually break down and red will turn blue because thinking afterwards, the more educated you get, the more liberal you tend to be, but I don't know that that's necessarily true. I'm pretty sure it is, but I don't think that I should really go ahead and make that an assessment.
There's a strong correlation.
Yeah.
But I'm not even sure that education is the right word for it, because for me, it's a switch. It's really like flipping a switch. It's just a different thought method.
No.
Reason.
No. We can educate these people who are complete Republican holdouts. As you've said, they will continue to vote and vote and vote against their best interests.
Because that switch hasn't been flipped for them.
But again, like you said, you can be shown and you can be told and you can be educated and you can willfully ignore through the education, and it's not going to be a flip. It's going to be a long, painful, arduous trek out of whatever it was, because
the problem is they don't believe the information that they're given because they're told that everybody who says something different than them is lying.
But
and
they don't.
Yeah,
they can't make value judgments for themselves. They're deferring to somebody else to decide for them. So
for sure,
if they can't decide for themselves what's good or bad for their own survival, they're basically they're gonna do what they're told. They're not going to.
Yeah.
It's like a creationist. Like you could bury them in evidence and they'll still deny it exists. Yeah. It's like
and like the religious books that have in it, if somebody is really adamant that you're wrong, that's more proof that you're right. That kind of crap.
Yeah. Because I was for years and years I was like always beating the critical thinking drum, but I really think it comes down to people being responsible for their own survival, and people who have a sense of responsibility for their own survival. I think critical thinking is the next thing on the docket. But people like that will not vote against their own interests because they know what their own interests are.
And they've also got the willingness to think that if my interests are not unique, then we're working towards a larger group so that we all have those.
Well, don't say that. That's communism.
Yeah, I'm gonna hit on that really quickly before we get out of here.
And not only is it communism, it's also socialism, fascism, and Marxism. Because it's all the same thing.
And social Marxism.
Just put big, huge letters, huge red letters, bad.
Yeah. Oh, don't forget cultural Marxism.
For Republican politicians, it seems to be like they have two signs. One is me, and the other one is bad.
Yeah.
Two choices.
Well,
News.
I keep telling you, man. It's the mirror of the North and South between Canada and the U.S. Me, we. That's
Yeah.
that's unfortunately the prevailing ideas.
The attitude towards healthcare sums it all up. I don't want my money going to anyone else, or let's all pool and help each other.
And you know what? If they want to go ahead and they want to say that is socialism,
so yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to screw that out of the water completely and utterly. And I got two people on the panel that can specifically help me with this one, and then one more that can go ahead and confirm it. Joey and Brigid.
What did I do?
You used to be paid by the U.S. Army, correct?
On occasion.
Okay, while specifically working. Okay, hold that.
There were a few months where, Congress shut down the government and certain things happened.
Okay, but for the most part, you were gainfully employed for. I'm using flowery language here for a second. By the U.S. Army.
Yes.
Brigid, similarly, you were gainfully employed by the U.S. Air Force.
Yep.
Okay, now, here is my question. And I'm going to love this one. And Tech, you hang out in the wings on this one because you're going to love this one. If socialized medicine is where everybody pitches in and everybody is taken care of all at the same time because it's all managed by the big scary government, who, Brigid and Joey, who is ultimately paying the big scary government in order for your paychecks when they eventually came down to you?
Taxpayers.
We all are.
So, Tech, to finish this one up, is that or is that not the exact definition of what socialized security for the country is all about?
Yes.
Thank you. So,
for those of you who are just listening, don't see, I did the whole Wayne's World double thumbs up, big shit eating grin thing. Why? Because it warranted it with an epic beard.
yeah. So, it's funny. Socialized something is big and scary when a particular group tells you that it's big and scary, as opposed to actually understanding how it plays out. Joseph, yeah, you know what? Isn't there an expression that says only a fool lets someone else tell him who his enemy is? And Joseph's got his. There you are.
Oh, this Joseph. Okay.
Yes.
Yes.
Right.
Too many Joes in the field.
We've already gone through this before. It's Joey, Joseph,
All right.
Joey. We've been.
Yep.
Le Joseph français.
I
Okay.
can't say that. The best I can do is just growl and Klingon.
Donc,
So-
à partir de maintenant, tu me parles en français,
Don't
comme ça, tout est réglé.
You know what? Abierto.
No, just go with tabernacle.
Yes. Anyway.
Caramba.
No, but
One of these things
no,
doesn't
not now.
belong
Not now.
here.
No, seriously, Joseph, isn't there an old expression that says only a fool allows himself to be told by someone else who his enemy is? I know I'm stretching it out a little bit far, but I mean that's
I've
that's
never heard
effective.
it, but yes, it's possible it exists.
And I'm not pulling this one out of my ass. I know I've heard this from somewhere before.
Yeah. Well, we're on the same wavelength. I mean,
Yeah.
never. Only an idiot would, to any rational person, only an idiot would defer their own survival to somebody else. I mean, that's the kind of thing you do when there's no other option.
So,
Doesn't that go without saying?
No, it does.
Yet, when we look at the behavior of most of the world, yeah.
Yeah, and the reason why I wanted to bring around to that is because is that not what has been going on? People at the upper pay grades, for lack of a better way of putting it, yelling and screaming and saying, these are the people that you should not be listening to because they are the ones who are trying to rip down everything that you ever believed in. Brigid, I'm hitting you as a surprise on this one because isn't that exactly what you had to break out of from the religious circles?
Yeah.
And is that or is that not pretty much the same thing that's been going on with these cult of personalities, especially in Trump land now?
It is. And I think they're even more entrenched because they have numbers on their side. They think if more people are going along with it, then this must be the right thing to do. I mean, it was hard enough for me breaking out of, fundamentalism as a person with a small church. I could not imagine trying to break out of a group of, say 60 million of my fellow people, citizens. Or more than that? I don't know. How many Trump supporters do we have?
Too damn many.
Too damn many, but I mean they seem to be in the majority right now. And I think it would be hard to go against a group that big if you felt like you were part of that group.
They do tend to be
not only breaking out of a group, you're breaking out of a behavior pattern.
Well, a mindset.
Yeah, and that's hard.
Yeah, I will give this. I will give them this. They do tend to be in the vast majority of the vehicular homicidists recently,
and attempted assassins. So yeah,
as much as we make fun of people, who aren't able to decide anything for themselves, you wouldn't realize how hard it is to make that transition to deciding things for yourself.
Yeah,
it's not an easy thing to do.
No, it's not, and
that's what we have to teach kids.
Yeah, and TD is saying over here, by the way, I defer my survival to the doctors and pharmacologists that keep me alive. There's a difference, though. Generally speaking, those are people who actually understand the topic at hand and have documentation that says this is someone who has learned the topic at hand and knows their shit in this particular area of expertise.
Yeah, it's like the difference between somebody with a PhD in potpourri trying to talk quantum physics and somebody with a PhD in quantum physics trying to talk quantum physics. One actually knows what the hell they're talking about, at least credentially speaking. The other one might be self-taught or learned through whatever, but they didn't get the piece of paper that says that they took the a learning institute's knowledgeable exams and gone through all the processes to prove, to demonstrate that when they talk with authority that they actually have something to stand on, so to speak. Did that come across okay, or did I screw up my words again?
It makes perfect sense for me.
Okay.
Not a worry.
I are not the greatest communicator.
No, it's okay.
I am
and
weasel.
and TD is sorry, TDTF is making reference back to the story that we had at the top of the shooting in the synagogue. So yeah.
Well, I mean, another day, another hate shooting spree. I mean, what else is new in this country?
Well, it's either that or bombs, apparently.
Yeah, people trying to assassinate political rivals. Same old, same old. It's a they that ends in Y, so here we go again.
We could have a show about anti-Semitism. It's funny, we're talking about it. Everybody is talking about, everybody hating, quote unquote, the Jews. they never dig down to why. Like, it's a big thing here in France, anti-Semitism. And
That's
okay, I'm gonna have to unpackage that now. But you know, it's
Well,
funny.
no-
Judaism is one of the few of the world's religions that did not frown down on critical thought, and in fact, they even celebrate it. And I think that is a big reason why there's a lot of dislike for.
It's entirely possible. We don't have nearly enough time to
I
go
know.
down
Sorry
any of
about
that. That's all right.
That's a discussion I'd like to have. That's all I'm saying.
We'll keep that one on the burner for a little bit later. And seeing as how we are getting pretty close to having a wrap up at this point, who's got anything left over that they want to drop out here? Because I'm kind of tapped myself. Anybody?
I'm horrified at the state of political discourse in this country. I'm terrified to see what's going to happen, less than 2 weeks from now. I guess we'll find out what direction we're going to go.
The midterms.
November 6th.
Have you voted yet? Can you vote early in your state?
We can. I have not yet, but I am going to.
Do it.
And I'm taking my daughter as well. But yeah, I guess we will find out on the 6th what direction we're going to go as a country, if we're going to try to stop things before they get more insane, or if we're going to keep going down this path. And if we keep going down this path, I think a lot of us know where this path leads to. And we don't want to go there. We really don't. Did I just Godwin myself? Probably.
See, the thing though is that you're not tipping Godwin's law if you're talking about actual Nazis.
Well, it's not only Nazis. I mean, it's down the path of the all hail our leader, protector, provider, decider.
Cult of personality.
I'm sorry, asked and answered, Your Honor.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing that separates the neo-Nazis now from the Nazis of way back when are tailors and the date.
Yeah.
They are
Pretty much.
Is there any real functional difference other than tailors and the date?
It's
Not
all
really.
it's all the same thing at the base. I mean, you've got, it depends on a following incapable of thinking or unwilling to think for themselves. Whether it be Nazis, whether it be religion, it's all the same fucking thing for me.
Yeah. Tech, Joe, either one of you got anything that you want to pull in before we go ahead and wrap up?
I'm good.
I've said my piece, I guess.
Okay. And Heretic Woman, I know you were commenting on, but I figured...
No, I'm good.
Kind of figured that was going to be the case for us all at this point, because I don't have any last piece to really talk other than to say this is not anywhere near where I thought that we were going to end up being. Not anywhere close.
That was my fault. Sorry.
No, it was not. Earlier today, Tech had gone ahead and pinged me and actually asked, what's all our topic tonight, and let him know. And he was kind of wondering how far back we were actually looking to go. And you can nod your head and agree with me anytime you like, Tech, because you know full well. Yeah. So I figured we'd probably end up talking back through Eisenhower, Watergate, and see how things played out from there. I had no idea that where we were going to end up was going to be, we need better education for kids. Because what we've got now, this shit ain't working right, man.
I was talking with a young lady the other day, and I forget how we got on the topic of education, but I definitely mentioned in our conversation, I said, there was a point in time where I didn't have a child, and now I do. And my opinion still has not changed having a child. My opinion was the same when I was childless, when I was even single. My opinion was the same, and that is, I will gladly pay my taxes for educational benefits, for the educational progression of education, for the better development of children in this country. Why? Because I want smart children growing in to be smart adults. I'm not a super highly intelligent person. I'm not a Mensa candidate or any of that shit by far. I have memory problems that seem to be getting worse as the years go by. Not Alzheimer's, but just, I don't know.
Old timers.
Old timer. Yeah, exactly. Except no alcohol is involved. But it's harder for me to flex my mental muscles, as it were. Probably due to mostly stress-related reasons. But the point is that we have all these young generations up and coming. And what I want to hear out of their mouths are, oh, math is fun, science is fun, history is fun. These are, interesting things to learn, and there's so much of it. Instead of, yo, fuck your mama, fake news, grab her by the pussy.
Well, the other part of that too, though, is that education now is run as a business, and people are learning what they need to do a job and no more than that. So humanities, liberal arts, things like that have gone by the wayside, and I feel like that's a detriment.
I remember home economics class in junior high. My offspring's in junior high. No home economics class. You know what I learned in home economics? I learned how to sew. I learned how to make one or two interesting food recipes, but I already knew how to cook thanks to my mom and grandma before that. But you get the point. But I learned, I was the only guy in the class who could sew well. Because I had some at-home stuff, and that class just helped it along. So when I made a book bag in that class, mine came out a little bit better than everybody else's. I want to tell you, the ego boost that gave me in a time where my ego was in the toilet, where my own self-worth was just like as low as possible. I was constantly getting picked on by bullies and shit. I just had nothing. And here I come out of that class. I can do this better than the other guys. I can do this better than most of the girls in the class. Same with the cooking. That was something I needed to get through a time. And it's something that I still use to this day. I button pops off my shirt. I don't go buy out a new shirt. I go get a needle and thread and put it on.
I'd like to hear you toss the better in that, just I think that the most important part you should take from all that is realizing that you can.
Because a lot of people can't.
Yep.
I liked home ec too, and I wish actually they need more classes like that, like teaching kids how to keep a bank account and how to balance a checkbook and how to do safe online shopping or bill paying or just regular stuff like that.
To wrap up the end of this part of it real quick, there is a gentleman, a teacher. I forget what school he's with, but he put together an after-school program for young men, young boys who have no father figure in their life for whatever reason. He has the after-school program set up to teach them how to have a proper, firm handshake for business purposes, not for, grip trying to kill somebody, but for proper business etiquette, how to tie a tie, suit and coat, how to make yourself get ready for a job interview. And if they actually line up a job interview and they don't have the proper attire, he will get them their attire, whether he has to loan it out of his own closet or not. And it's like, these are programs that set people up to be successful.
Good. And Joey, I'm hoping that you remember the quote well enough to finish it off with. You didn't go looking at our chat, did you?
No, I didn't.
The quote from John Green about kids and taxes.
Yes, I do. I pay taxes simply because I don't want to live in a world full of stupid people.
And that's where we're going to end it, because that's exactly where we ended up anyway. As always, everybody, thank you very much for being with us tonight. We hope that you had yourself a good time listening, and hope you found something worthwhile in all of our perspectives tonight. Over the live chat tonight, Stephanie and TTTF, guys, thank you very much. I know full well that the time zones are going to be getting a little funky because, like we talked about earlier, dropping back time and all that. I will make sure, of course, that times are updated so that everybody knows where and when we're supposed to be properly. But as always, everybody, thank you very much to the panel. Joseph, thank you very much for your time this morning. I'm glad you were able to make it, and you have yourself a restful rest of your morning.
You too, sir, and sorry for all the rabbit holes.
You know what? Honestly, I'm not at all concerned about it, because, wow, some of the stuff that we ended up coming through, worthwhile. Thank you.
Well, thank you.
UnrenownedTech, thank you very much for your time, man, and I hope that your Sunday is peaceful.
I'll keep you guys updated. Don't worry.
Appreciate it, man. You take care of yourself.
Yeah, you too.
Joey, thank you very much for your time, too. You try to stay warm, hey?
Not that bad right now.
Fair enough, then. You take care of yourself, man. Brigid, also, thank you very much. I'm sorry I sprang a couple of those on you, but somehow I kind of felt that was right up your alley right there, eh?
That's okay. I need something to keep me focused anyway, because my brain's just sing, sing, sing.
Something other than the ferrets, right?
Yeah. It's always interesting at my house. Trust me. Well, if you want to find me, you can send me a friend request on Facebook under Brigid Fitch, or find me at my blog at brigidfitch2112.wordpress.com.
If it's up and running.
And I'm still having issues with it, but WordPress,
Sooner or later.
Yeah. And if I can't get it straightened out, then I may just have to move it. Yeah.
We'll figure it out. And the Heretic Woman, good to have you back.
You.
And what do you got going on for yourself coming up?
A show.
All right, there we go. Wrap it up.
Hey, we're looking at
Last week we did an impromptu show with Tris Mamone and talking about the whole anti-trans memo that came out. So we dedicated a show to that topic because we felt it was important. So I don't know what we're doing this week, but we'll think of something the next day. But we'll have a show 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Yeah, there's Shujin out there with the protest against the stupid memo.
Yep, that was Lafayette Square at Buffalo just this morning. It was cold, it was wet, and we're not going anywhere.
Hell no.
That memo just horrifies me.
I should be speechless, but virtually nothing surprises me anymore. But yeah, you can't get rid of people that easily, Dick Cheese. So just so you know. But anyway, yeah. So 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Beyond the Trailer Park. Me and Beth and Morgan, and we'll think of something topical. I'm sure. I know. I don't know if we're going to do that tomorrow, but we are talking about doing a show about missionaries and how their quote missionary work isn't always that helpful and often detrimental and amounts to missionary tourism, where they show up somewhere and expect to be like, oh, we're gonna do such great things for the people here, and they're just like they hand out stupid Bibles and whatnot. So we are looking into doing a show about that soon, but I don't know that that'll be tomorrow. We'll see.
Because Bibles are so tasty and filling.
I know, and they make great housing, I'm sure.
Oh yeah.
I mean, well, if you put enough in a box, you might be able to use the box for something. I don't know.
Yes, you could wrap it around a piece of rope and then around some evangelicals' necks and drop them into the river, I guess.
You would have to get the really heavy family Bibles for that.
Oh,
Yes.
I'm sure we can find somebody that would be worth for. P. Robes comes to mind.
Yeah.
But that's just
Oh, and TDTF says something about who uses a checkbook. I'm like, hey, I'm old, but I haven't used a checkbook.
I have a checkbook. I have been known to use it depending on what I am trying to do, and I need a paper trail for that thing.
I haven't used one in years, but that's only because I now live with my husband and I don't have to pay rent anymore. But I was up until 2011 using a check every month to pay rent. So there's that.
Fair enough.
But
thank you for your time. Of course, for those of you that would be interested in just listening to us instead of taking a look at my ugly bug every week, feel free to subscribe to the podcast. You can take a swing over to holycrapthevlogcast.com, and whenever we get it updated again, because Dalan's been working pretty hard, so it hasn't exactly had a lot of time to do that. But when it gets updated, you will suddenly be inundated with a lot of episodes at once, probably, because that's kind of the way it works. It suddenly just happens that way. But thank you, Dalan, for all the audio bitch work that you do. He'll never listen to this. He doesn't do this. If you would like to leave us a voicemail message, you can do it at 859-HCTV-554, 859-4288-554. And, of course, all of our social media links are available over at holycrapthevlogcast.com, Facebook, Twitter. I was about to say G+, but that's going away, isn't it? Can't imagine why.
Right, which is what broke YouTube.
Yeah, I've heard about that, but that's a whole other thing for later. As far as to me personally, by the way, this morning, because it's now Sunday, this morning, a few hours from now, I'm going to be having a secular Sunday at Center for Inquiry Buffalo again,
cool.
Which is kind of nice, assuming I can wake up well enough. And I run into a small conundrum. I need to wake up in order to get there because it's at 10:30, which means I need to leave no later than 10 in order to make it, probably a little earlier, which means I need to get coffee in me in order to be awake enough to drive up there to get coffee.
uh-oh.
I don't like temporal mechanics. I really don't.
This is why you should keep a bunch of like chocolate covered coffee beans or something.
No.
For emergencies.
No.
There are emergencies, and we do have them.
No.
Ice storms. It's nice to have those during ice storms.
No.
Yes.
No, they will not last. They will not
If
last.
they're only for emergencies.
So the problem would be that if you knew they were there, they wouldn't be there.
No, that's not the problem. The problem is that they wouldn't be there, and then suddenly I would be vibrating and phasing through the floor towards the center of the earth. And that's a bad moment right there. My name is not Shadowcat, no matter how much you want to say it otherwise.
Gotcha.
Some people get that reference. You nerds, you're my people. Good on you. Sorry, let me do that again. I am never going to do that again. And that's on video now. God damn it. Dalan, edit the video and take that out for me, would you please? Anyway, we got to go. We got to go. Anyway, you all take good care of yourselves. I know for all that Halloween is coming up. Please be safe and be careful. Please.
And watch bridges as you drive under them.
And yes, very much so.
Beware of falling pumpkins.
Or
Yeah.
tossed pumpkins. If you see somebody that looks like they're throwing a pumpkin off a bridge, call the police, would you please?
See,
Yeah.
I've got them trained well enough. I don't even have to give you my spiel anymore. Look at that. Anyway,
Keep advertising that.
yeah. I this time of the season I always do.
Because it always happens every year.
Yeah, it does. And like I said, when I was training to help out the state police up here for the New York State Thruway, they brought pictures of what it looks like when these things happen. I will not forget those. And I really wish that I could. But, you know, it's one of those things that you don't want to think about, but you know full well, once you've heard about it, you can't unsee it, as it were, and I would much rather know than not, as much as it hurts. Anyway, we got to get out of here, but you'll take good care of yourselves, enjoy the hell out of yourselves, and thanks for being with us. As always, I wish you all the peace I no longer have. I wish you the strength that I've learned. I wish you well. And for my lady, 13 plus years on, I am still in love with you. Not today, Fujin. I love you. I miss you. Dream of me. Happy Nightmare Night, all. And of course, as always, until the next time we get together, everyone. Good night.
Good night.